Gibbo presents.
It's Gibbo, and right now I'm joined on the line by the promoter of World Clash R.E.S.E.T 2013, which goes down this Saturday, October the 12th, inside Amazura in Queens. It is Chin.
One half of the team of Irish and Chin. Yes, it is Chin.
Chin, I think most people underestimate the work it takes to put on an event like R.E.S.E.T. Talk me through what the last couple of days leading up to the Clash will involve for you and the team. What exactly do you have to do? What will the workload be like?
The workload is very intense because, and it's intense because of the fact that you're dealing with different personalities and different sound teams, different owners and so forth. But what makes it even more intense is that we are trying to raise the bar for the whole sound system culture. And in doing so, we're trying to, create the Sound Clash Arena into like a production den. So we have stage people that we work with, sound people that we work with, lighting people that we work with. So it's not that actual traditional sound clash where everybody just comes with their speakers and their sound and just play. And it's almost like keeping a concert then. So we have now graduated to trying to turn this into a whole big production where, it is good for TV. We have a camera crew flying in from Jamaica. We have a jib. We have all kind of stuff that does make, the day-to-day process leading up to World Clash very tedious.
Can you tell me who will be hosting this year's R.E.S.E.T?
I'm actually leaving that to the people who, once the event starts, we will announce the host and the host will walk out. So that's the only thing that I'm not announcing this year. I've announced everything else, but we kind of just want to keep the host on the wraps and leave some type of mystery in this year's package. What
will the format of the Clash be, and what are the rules?
The format of World Clash R.E.S.E.T 2 is pretty simple. I don't know if you want to call them rules, but it's a dub plate and 45 clash, right? And sound systems will be allowed to play dub plates and 45. So if they choose to play all 45, which wouldn't be a good thing for them, but if they choose to do so, then it's fine. If they choose not to play 45s at all and play all dub plates, that's also fine. If they choose to play a mixture, that's also fine as well. However, the round right before the tune for tune round, in which we call the 45 shot lock round, where there's only 3 more contenders left, there will be no 45s allowed. So that's when the 45 thing stops, and of course, no 45s in tune for tune.
When will sounds be eliminated? At the end of each round?
Sounds will be eliminated at the end of each round. The format will go as follows. The first round will be an introductory round, so no one will be eliminated. We kind of do that as a courtesy. The second round will be the first elimination, where 1 sound will go. The third round will be elimination of 2 sound systems. The fourth round will be elimination of 1 sound system, and it will be 1 thereafter.
And will it be a best of 10 tune for tune rounds?
Best of 10 tune for tune round, as always.
What factors did you consider when you were deciding which sounds to include in R.E.S.E.T? Recent performances and form, fan base and popularity, nationality, reputation and past achievements?
Combination of many things I looked at. One of the major factors we looked at is a story. This year I wanted to have a story. I wanted to have something that will lure Clash fans and non-Clash fans to the World Clash Arena. For some people, World Clash is the only time they get to go to a sound clash, right? So I wanted to appeal to them. I wanted to also appeal to people who don't normally go to sound clashes because they feel like clashing has this bad, stigma. So I wanted to put something in there for them as well. I wanted to get some of the most powerful dub boxes on the stage. I also wanted to get re-grasp the interest of the people who live here in New York. So in trying to capture the interest of the people who live here in New York, it was, a no-brainer for me to get 3 of the sound systems that people have been having a perpetual argument about who runs Brooklyn for so many years now. So I thought it would be a good idea. Okay, let me book King IDs, let me book LP, let's book Soul Supreme, and let's see if we can bring that energy to the world-class stage, because it will be a breath of fresh air for those who are living in New York. Now, we knew that the King IDs, LP, and Soul Supreme is a local thing. And when I say local thing, I mean here in New York City, where world class is being kept. So we also needed to add an ingredient that will allow people to travel from, 4 hours away, which may be Boston, 4 hours away, which may be Washington, that might not care about who rules Brooklyn. So, of course, we went for some of the heavy hitters, and we went for some of the rivals. Mighty Crown and Firelinks has been 2 sound systems that have never met on that world-class stage that many people do know. If you follow the industry good enough, you'll know that Firelinks and Mighty Crown has had this ongoing little discrepancy for many years. So I thought it would be a really good idea to talk Mighty Crown into coming back to world-class, because they haven't been there in about 5 or 6 years. And also getting Firelinks to come back would kind of spark the energy of Clash fans who have been following this whole riff with Mighty Crown and Firelinks. And then I also wanted to pull people who just go to regular dances and dance hall and, that may not be into sound clashing. So we looked at Jazzy T, and we also looked at Sky Juice to fill that void. So World Clash Reset is a merging of different concepts on one stage, so to speak.
So was this your first choice lineup, or did any sounds decline the invitation?
It wasn't my first choice lineup. My original sketch was for Bass Odyssey. They declined. I think Bass Odyssey was the only sound that declined this year. That was one of the only sounds that we reached out for that said that they weren't interested.
Why do you think they declined?
That's a good question. Definitely a good question. I would wanna, if I am to be truthful, I think there may be some type of rift going on with them in Irish and Chin that no one really wants to address, to be honest with you.
Interesting. Going into resets, who do you think the favourite is?
Going into Reset, I would say that there is no favorite, and that's one of the reasons why I put the lineup together, because it's unpredictable. This is one of the first years in a very long time that it's just unpredictable, of what can happen. It depends on what kind of audience you get. If we get a very mixed audience where it's maybe 50% of Clash people and 50% of non-Clash people, then it's anybody's ball game. Anybody who can, impress the crowd will be the favorite. If we get maybe a 90-10 in favor of Clash fans, then the heavy hitters such as LP, Addies, Mighty Crown, Soul Supreme, and Firelinks will be sure winners because they have the classical dub, the dub catalogs. So I wouldn't be able to pick a favorite at this point.
You can't pick a favourite, but what are the streets of New York saying? What's the word in the barbershops?
I'm never in the barbershop, but the word on the streets, it's mixed. I'm hearing a lot of LP within the last couple of days. They came into the studio on Monday, and I was very impressed by their delivery and their confidence level and so forth. So there are some people that are saying LP. There are a lot of people who are saying King Addies because of the Bass Odyssey win. It seems like people have got back a lot of confidence in King Addies. You also have some people who says Firelinks hands down, So again, it's mixed reviews. It's very hard to pick, but what it does spell is that the clash will be very interesting.
You may not be in the barbershop getting a trim, but I'm sure you're in a few of those barbershops giving out flyers. When you announced on Sound Chats that Mighty Crown were making their return to the Sound Clash Arena at Resets, you said they had accepted the invitation after, quotes, a lot of talking and convincing. When did you first ask them to take part, and how exactly did you convince them?
We're looking at it as, I looked at it as a business standpoint, because it's no secret that Mighty Crown is Irish and Chin is Mighty Crown. So we examined, or we sat down and we just looked at what's going on in the sound system arena today. They've been out of it for maybe 5 or 6 years, and the situation was just that, is it worth it to sit out for another year? You know what I mean? It's a perfect opportunity now. We have had a good year as far as, doing the tour, and they've been all over the place. And I just felt that this is the perfect time for them to do World Clash, as opposed to waiting for the whole touring hype of their tour to die down, and then 1 year later also, come back and say, well, we're doing World Clash. I believe in, striking the iron while it's hot, as they say. So it was something that we had to just sit down and calculate, and I had to respect what they have going on in Japan at the time, because many people just may feel that Mighty Crown hasn't wanted to do Clash just because they feel like they don't need to do clashing anymore, but they're basically doing a lot of business ventures and a lot of stuff going on for them in Japan, and oftentimes Simon is in one area, Sammy's in another area, and when it really comes to them competing, they have to be together, and they have to be together for, a decent amount of time in order to get their strategy together in order to clash. So the time has not been right. It hasn't been that they didn't want to clash over the years, but every time I presented it to them like, we should go clash, or we should go do this, whether World Clash or any other clash, I've always, been faced with the obstacle of, well, we got this deal on the table right now, and I'm going to be busy doing this, and Sammy has his own clothing line and his own business going on. Why can't do it become the opposite? So this was an opportunity where I sat with them and I said, listen, guys, this is what I'm seeing, right? It's a perfect marketing strategy. It's a perfect opportunity right now. The tour is going well. You guys have done good in Europe. You guys are doing good in England. You guys are doing good in the U.S., right? Let's top off the year by doing World Clash. And that's pretty much what the conversation was.
And you were confident they would accept your invitation?
No, I wasn't confident, because again, we had similar conversations before, and they were just business obstacles that were in the way that I couldn't even get around. This time, the conversation was just pretty much, it was the proper timing, and they were like, well, you know what? Since we're already out there, and we realize that the business is slowing down, let's just strike the iron while it's hot. And we all decided that, this would be a perfect opportunity. One thing I do not do, Gibbo, is because I am the promoter of World Clash, or I am a sound system promoter, and I also manage Mighty Crown, I do try to keep a balance. So I would never try to hold it over their head like, you got to do World Clash because it's my show, So I always give them, refusal. And if they feel like they don't want to do it, I'm not going to force them to go in and do it. I don't, try to draw that rank on them, so to speak. So over the years, it's not like I haven't been asking. I've had promoters that come to me and say, the only reason why Mighty Crown now clashes because you want them to clash in your dance. But the fact of the matter is, we've been keeping a lot of clash dances and Mighty Crown has not been involved, because sometimes we can't get them to clash neither.
You have included 2 quote-unquote juggling sounds, Renaissance and Metro Media, in this year's resets. Is this an idea that you've been thinking of trying out for a while?
It's been an idea that I been thinking about for quite a while now. Over here, because I can speak for what I see, and here in the U.S., in Jamaica, the industry is no longer taking the sound system culture seriously. In speaking to artists and speaking to managers and speaking to producers, there's very little faith left in the sound system culture. And just as a side note, I was speaking to a very highly ranked producer the other day, and we were having a conversation about sound systems. And he said to me that the reason why he doesn't, run down sound systems as he speaks, as the term says, is because there's no selector or any sound anymore that can bust tune. So he doesn't feel it necessary for him and his artists to have this great relationship with sound systems because they can't bust no tune. He would rather have that relationship with people who work on the radio. So it kind of, more drove my idea to say that if we are juggling and sound system, juggling sound and class sound, if we keep that wall that governs, our positions in the arena, then we're all going to lose because juggling sounds are not traveling and class sounds are not traveling. And there are so many different combinations that people would love to see, example of Stone Love and Kilimanjaro, or Bass Odyssey and Jaro, or Mighty Crown and Stone Love, or Fire Links and Ricky Troop, or whatever it is, right, that the politics and that wall of division has been creating all over the years. The only way for us to get the sound system culture back and bring the excitement to the forefront is to merge both sectors of the sound system culture. Juggling sounds have something to offer, and class sounds have something to offer. Class sounds are very aggressive. They are good at, playing music and going to the depth of our musical culture. But juggling sounds are also experts at motivating large audiences and keeping people motivated for a long period of time. It's two different crafts that complement each other. Back in the days when I was growing up, I used to go to Hosaleo. I remember one of my most memorable dances is a Stone Love versus Bodyguard in Hosaleo. So juggling sounds used to clash. So we just decided that we're going to try to push it to get juggling sounds back into the Clash arena in order to create a hype that wasn't there before and to create an interest that wasn't there before. And, from the impact that we're getting for this year's Reset number 2, it seems like the concept is working.
How did Jazzy T and Sky Juice respond when you asked them to take part? Were they shocked? Did they have to think about the offer?
They were shocked and they were hesitant until I explained to them the concept of what we're trying to push forward. Sky Juice is someone who doesn't like to be disrespected, and the world knows that. So he hasn't clashed because it's not because he doesn't like the sound system culture or the clash culture. He doesn't like the disrespect that's offered with the personal disrespect that's offered with the sound system culture, the clash culture. So he stayed away from that. There was no way of me saying to Sky Juice, well, I'm going to guarantee you that no one's going to, tell you about this and that. So that's not what the conversation was. But what we all agreed on is the fact that some type of unity has to be done in order for the things to go back to where it was, or close enough to go back to where it was. No one is traveling. No one is making any money. In Jamaica, the sound systems are being locked off. So if we don't come together as an entity, juggling selectors, class selectors, juggling sound owners, class sound owners, then there's no way for us to prevent or put up any resistance to this decay of the sound system culture that's happening. And once I put it that way to Sky Juice, he was, he had a different perspective of what it was, right? Jazzy T, he was a little bit hesitant at first. To be honest with you, the first conversation that I had with Renaissance wasn't with Jazzy T. It was actually with Delano of Renaissance. I gave him my concept, and I did say it on Soundchat Radio. I called him. Before I said that I was calling him for World Clash, I asked him if the date was open, and I made it look like I was calling him for a regular party booking. He told me that the date was open, and as soon as he told me the date was open, he said, what do you have in mind? I said, well, I want you guys to come to World Clash. And he said to me, World Clash? Why Renaissance? And, I explained the whole situation to him, and then he says to me, yeah, but you may have to change the name of the event then. And I said to him, why would I change the name of the event? Changing the name of the event, the event is what gives it the stamp of approval. And then he says to me, well, you know what? The best thing for you to do is to talk to Jazzy. Now, that was probably one of the greatest things that he could have said to me during the conversation, because Jazzy comes to every single World Clash that keeps, and he is part of the culture. He knows the culture. He loves the culture. There are some of the sound systems and selectors that Jazzy's usually backstage telling them, yo, I this if I play next round, I that if I play next round. So it was an easy conversation with myself and Jazzy. Jazzy more gravitated towards the fact that we're merging both arenas, so you're allowed to play dub plates and 45s, and I think that was, the breaking point for the conversation when he realized that he would be allowed to be creative with juggling back and forth from dub plates to 45s.
Did either of them ask for 45s to be allowed, or was that your idea?
It was my idea. 45s to be allowed. And the concept behind it, Gibbo, is that nowadays when you go to some of these parties or these gatherings, so to speak, right? It's not like how it used to be 5-10 years ago. It's almost like people are bothered when dub plates are being played in juggling dances. It's not receptive as it used to be when a big sound like Stone Love came to town, and if the promoter didn't hear Stone Love play a couple of rounds of dub plates, the promoter would be asking back for his money because he felt that he got ripped off. That's how it used to be. These days, many of the big sounds are coming from Jamaica, and they're not. If they play one or two dub plates, you're lucky, right? So looking at it from a juggling perspective, I wanted to go 45 because I see in the juggling world, dub plates are getting very insignificant as far as the entertainment factor goes. Now, when you look at the Clash world, one of the main reasons why I wanted to instill, or we wanted to instill 45 in the Clash arena is because with clashing continuing to be dub plate mandatory, you'll never find any new talent. There'll never be a young 16-year-old, 17, 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid who is going to bust to become the next Tony Matterhorn or the next Ricky Troop or the next Squingy or the next Panther because they can't afford to buy the dub plates. So what we're doing is that we're pulling the industry, because things and times change. We're pulling the industry into a corner where the only people that win is the artists that are voicing the dub plates. Nobody else wins. Now, I can't speak for Europe and I can't speak for England, but I can speak for Jamaica, where I can say that there's probably one sound clash a year going on in Jamaica. There are many sound clashes going on here in the U.S., but they're poorly attended. We as Clash fans, we celebrate the fact that there's a clash. But what we're not looking at is that clashes are having only 300 and 400 people, and that's not healthy for the sport. We're not seeing as much females as we used to see. The venues are not being rammed as they used to be rammed. We're going to events, and everybody in the event knows each other. To me, that's not a sound clash. It's a social gathering. Clashing is supposed to be, mixed people of all different races, colors, and creeds that don't know each other, that gather in one spot for a common interest, to see sounds compete and to identify the next superstar in the arena. So if we want to say that a young kid from England was bad on the turntable, and I'm bad with him CD, or bad with him laptop, which can bust dance, he will never become world renowned if we say that he might have a whole heap of dub plates to clash. So basically, in a long story short, what we are trying to do, which many people are viewing as unorthodox, is to preserve the sound system culture for the next 10 years. And if it continues going the way it is going, the arena is just going to get smaller and smaller and smaller, and there will never be any new talent. And let me explain this to you, Gibbo, and I don't know if you will agree with me, but the last sound system to bust internationally in the Sound Clash arena is Mighty Crown. That happened in about between 99 and maybe 2002. That's over 10 years with no new sound system or new selector where you can identify. Sure, there have been sound systems that come and win World Clash or come and do a one performance good here and a one performance good there, but they have not become a global brand. And because they have not become a global brand, it's causing a problem. The interest is not there because the Matterhorn fans are getting old. Matterhorn no longer wants to clash. Firelinks wasn't clashing for a very long time. he just decided to come and clash? What's going to happen when Firelink decides, yo, I'm tired of clashing, yo, man, I go back to the juggling world? Where does it leave the future of sound clash if we just keep depending on the same icons to bust?
You came to the UK earlier this year, and whilst you were here, you hosted Winner Takes All. After the clash, you said you were not impressed by the standard of the UK sounds who took part in the clash. If you had been impressed, would the winner have received an invite to R.E.S.E.T, the same way that the sound that used to be victorious at Winner Takes All in the past used to get a spot at New York World Clash and the UK Cup Clash?
Not necessarily. I came to the UK to kind of, just see what's going on with the sound system culture there, and compare it to what's going on in other parts of the world. Yes, I wasn't impressed, and one of the reasons why I wasn't impressed with the sound system culture is because the culture set by English sound systems was so high. We're talking about sound systems like Cox and sound systems like, Saxon and so forth, right? And now that, the younger sound systems have it in their lap, I just don't see the delivery. I don't see what England, and this is just my personal, view, I didn't see watching those sounds that they say are the better sounds in England compete. I didn't feel like, yo, man, they're England, I yes, for the bad sound, them really dead. So I was a little bit disappointed because I wanted to feel, I was expecting more. So maybe my disappointment came from my high expectations. But we wasn't planning to pretty much use a sound system from England. We wasn't planning to use a sound from England for World Clash R.E.S.E.T. We were just planning to, see what's there for future endorsement. Maybe, some clashes between the U.S. and the U.K. and England and the U.K. and, not England and U.K., Canada and the U.K. and so forth. So it was my ambition to start to look at young talent to pretty much be able to start an international circuit of, competitions among young junior sound systems and selectors.
So what are the chances that we see an Irish and Chin promoted clash in the UK, say, in the next 12 months?
Well, Irish and Chin, Reggae Girls is basically Irish and Chin. So, we are very much heavily involved in UK Cup Clash, but we're not at the forefront of the UK Cup Clash. It's of course, Reggae Girls, V-Rocket, and Mighty Crown and so forth. So what I can say is that UK Cup Clash is coming back within the next 12 months. So that will be, Irish and Chin's, investment in the UK, so to speak, very indirectly. Because again, at the forefront of that competition is Valerie Miss V from V-Rocket and Mighty Crown.
Great news there about the return of UK Cup Clash. I know a lot of people have been missing it since the last edition. Certainly look forward to more info on that one.
UK Cup Clash, of course, will pretty much come back with the same reset formula, though. So, what we're trying to do, Gibbo, and we're not telling anyone that they have to do it our way. This is our vision. This is what we want to do. We've been doing World Clash from, we started in 1998, and we've been pretty much using the same formula. And as life tells you, the generations change, and what the interest of people in one generation to the next differs a lot. So, hence growing up, what your parents were interested into, you weren't interested into, right? And many of us, because, we have conversations all the while, and I speak to some of the top selectors, some of the sound owners, and I ask them, is your son interested in sound clashing? Is your nephew interested in sound clashing? And 99.9 times, the answer is no. So if we are doing something and continuing to do something that the next generation doesn't find appealing, then how much longer do we have with the sport of sound clash if we can't make the necessary transition? Now, remember this. Back in the days when U-Roy and Stereograph and Jalove and all of these other, monumental sound systems used to play off of one turntable, when the era came in with Stone Love and some of the other sounds who were playing off of two turntables came in, those guys said that a mash stone love and the other stone them come to mash up the business. But actually what happened was, it was a change in time. And they were appealing to the next generation of party goers. So what we are trying to do is create a way that will appeal to the next generation of Sound Clash ravers. And in order to do so, we feel that the industry has to be less reliant on dub plates and more reliant on talent, raw, natural talent, speech, delivery, and attitude. And of course, tune as well. Tune is important, but we don't want to make the dub plate thing as important as it used to be 5, 10, 15 years ago.
Many people in Europe are very disappointed that no European sounds are involved in resets. Can you explain why this is the case? Did no European-based sounds make the grade?
It's not that European sounds didn't make the grade, to be honest with you. There are some European sounds there that have an energy and qualify for the World Clash Reset or World Clash, so to speak. This year, we sat down and we decided that we wanted to just take a different angle. And we wanted to have some type of rivalry going. We wanted to have some type of, conflict among sound systems. And there's just no conflict amongst the European sounds right now. There's no European sound that has a conflict with Mighty Crown from Japan or Firelings from Jamaica or Jaro from Jamaica or so forth. There's no rivalry, no history there. So I'm not saying, and I don't want anybody in Europe to feel like, Chindem don't respect the European sounds and we will never put a European sound in World Clash, because that's not the case. But for us to go with the theme that we felt in our gut this year would work, we couldn't find a European sound that would just fit into that whole rivalry and that whole hype that we have, tried to create for this year's competition. And that's just being truthful.
Do you not feel there's some unfinished business between Mighty Crown and Supersonic?
Hell yeah. There is more than unfinished business between Mighty Crown and Supersonic. It is something that we look forward to doing. Hopefully, the guys will agree to do it very soon. And it comes back to what we were saying. This is one of the things that I've been pressuring them with. I think that Supersonic is a good sound. I think they're an excellent sound. But at the same time, it didn't sit well with me how they won the competition with Mighty Crown. Those who know me very well would know that I just call it as I see it. So if I feel that Crown lost the clash, I definitely would say Crown lost the clash. I'm not, one of those biased people. If I feel like Addy's never put in a good energy, I'm going to say to Addy's man and say, I want to barely get to it tonight and I never go on good, but I just saw it go. Right? But, traditionally, when you look at the Soundclash culture for what it is, there is an unwritten rule that one cannot change. And that rule is, once you engage in a tune-for-tune matchup and you lose, you're a loser. You cannot, there's no big clash in the traditional history of the Soundclash arena where somebody lost a tune-for-tune match and was still crowned a champion. It just doesn't happen. So with the Mighty Crown clash, when you and Supersonic clash, if you listen to what Simon was saying, throughout the clash, if you listen back to the audio, Simon kept repeating that this is a last man standing dance. This is because this is what we were sold and this is what we believed it was. It was a last man standing competition. When you put two gladiators like Mighty Crown and Supersonic together, that's what we're expecting. Supersonic, were they winning the round? Hell yeah. They pretty much, maybe Mighty Crown won one round in the whole competition. Supersonic dominated the round by round of the competition. But yet, what they should have done is stopped and decided that we're not going to play Mighty Crown anymore because we won 3 out of 4 rounds, or we won 5 out of 5 rounds, or whatever the amount of rounds they won was. But the minute that you engage into a tune-for-tune face-off and you lose, you can't call yourself a victor. So that kind of left it a little, kind of left a little bad taste in our mouth as a camp as well. And we were kind of a little bit bothered by how, the culture was being bent in Europe, because what was said to us after the competition, it was like, yo, China, Europe, if you can't tell, we also keep our sound clashes. And I'm like, we're not telling you how to keep your sound clashes. We're just saying that this is an unwritten rule. This is a respected rule in sound clash, that you lose tune for tune, you lose a dance. So to answer your question, I look forward to my team playing Supersonic. I look forward to R.E.S.E.T playing Supersonic as well. I think Supersonic is a great sound, but I think that they need to, win a dance with Mighty Crown fairly. And if they beat Mighty Crown fairly, I would be the first to say all hats off to Supersonic, because they defeated Mighty Crown fairly.
It's no secret that you manage two of the sounds who are going to be taking part in resets, Mighty Crown and King Addies. Is a tune-for-tune round involving these two sounds the ideal outcome for you?
No, it wouldn't be the ideal outcome for me. I think it would be the ideal outcome for Clash fans. No one who's a head of a franchise or head of a team would like to see their two-star players go head-to-head. It's not the finish that I would like to see, but it is something that I would settle for, because if World Clash comes down to a tune-for-tune between R.E.S.E.T and Mighty Crown, that means that Irish and Chin has the most dominant team in the World Clash industry right now. That's what it would mean. Whether R.E.S.E.T beats Crown, still would be the second place winner of World Clash. If Crown wins, R.E.S.E.T would still be the second place. So it sends a powerful message to the world that these are two sounds that are governed under the same umbrella, that is ready for the global market. But ideally, I wouldn't want that to happen. But I think that's what the Clash fans would like to see. And however it works out, it works out. If that's what the Clash fans want, and that's how it happens, I'll just have to watch and see what happens, and just be happy for whatever outcome happens.
Surely, though, a Mighty Crown and R.E.S.E.T tune for tune shows the world that you only manage the best, and it would also be the ideal setup for a big one-on-one battle in a few months' time, which you could promote.
Well, you see, this is the thing that people kind of get twisted. We don't have ulterior motives, right? It's just not what it is. So even if Mighty Crown and King R.E.S.E.T makes it into the tune for tune, it wouldn't be something that we would be looking to capitalize on. It wouldn't be something that we're going to say, okay, 5 months later we're going to make this happen because this is what it is. It's inevitable that Mighty Crown and King R.E.S.E.T has to face off sometime, because it's what the Clash fans want to see. Is I myself or Irish going to be pushing for that to happen more sooner than later? I can't tell you that I'm going to commit to that more sooner than later. I think that there's a lot of things that I want to do with my team that is more important than maybe them facing off prematurely. And I'm just being honest with Clash fans. Some people feel that we baby our sound systems, but our sound systems are the most achieved. And when we're talking about most achieved, it's sound culture or sound clashing. It's not only about what you achieve inside the ring, but it also needs to be notice of what you achieve outside the ring. And what Mighty Crown has been able to achieve outside the ring is phenomenal. Sneakers, branding, an empire for themselves that will allow them to still be, to still have an income after they retire from sound clashing or selectors. It's the same thing that I would want for R.E.S.E.T to do. It's the same thing I would want for the next sound system that I'm going to take into the camp, and when I make the announcement on Monday after World Clash, to do. So I'm not only grooming my sound systems to win competitions, I'm grooming my sound systems to become business people, to be able to make money, to be able to have a legacy, to be able to go home and show them youth that this is what I used to do, and this is why you have what you have. Years gone, the sound clash thing was a hustling thing. So it's no secret that the whole of the man them we used to own the big sound them was hustlers, and it was never a business for them. And the repercussions of that is that because it was never a business for those people, a culture has been affiliated with sound clash culture, where it's not a money thing. Man just a cut dub plate, just for cut dub plate, and there's no business behind it. And this is what we're trying to change. So At.E.S.E. and Mighty Crown will clash. They may not clash prematurely, but they will clash because that's what the crowd wants to see, or the Clash fans want to see. But my first ambition is to make Mighty Crown continue being the business structure that they are, and to get King At.E.S.E. to become a dominant business structure, so they can also be able to have their own brand out there, not only in the arena, but outside of the arena as well.
Just before we finish, Chin, if I could ask you two more things. Firstly, you just said there you're set to announce another addition to the Irish and Chin team on Monday. When you announce this new addition, will you have a sound based in Japan, a sound based in the USA, and a sound based in Canada?
No. There's a misconception going on right now that we are managing Superfresh. And it is, I want to put it out there. Superfresh is a sound system that I respect and I rate. And I've played with them, or I've been in their presence while they've been playing one or two times. And their dub plate collection is phenomenal, right? But we have not sat down and spoke about, being part of the Irish and Chin camp. We have sat down and spoke, just pretty much, just having a chat about the importance of turning a sound into business. And I want to stress that, Gibbo, like, this needs to become a business. Like, some of the biggest sound systems in the culture of the sound system eras, they're no longer existent and no longer respected because they didn't do what was needed to be done business-wise while they were on top. And I don't want that to happen to my era of sound systems. So I had a very long, depthy conversation with Superfresh in Canada while I was visiting there, and we spoke about the importance of just looking at things from a business perspective and not only go cut dub today, spend $20,000, $25,000 US on cutting dubs, go into play for a promoter for $3,000, you win in a clash, and then it's just done there. So I think that people probably heard about that conversation and also saw something that I wrote on one of my blogs on irishandchin.com and just, put two and two together and decided that, okay, Chin's next move is going to be to get Superfresh from Canada. My next move is not from Canada.
So Superfresh are not joining Team Irish and Chin. Will your new edition be based outside of the US?
Yes.
So a new...
The only sound that I will represent from the US right now is King At.E.S.E. The only sound that I'll be representing from Japan is Mighty Crown. What we want to have here at Irish and Chin, we want to have a global camp. We want to spread our wings very far and wide, and we want that Irish and Chin influence to be something with a far reach. So if we have the number one sound in Japan, and we help to build the structure of the number one sound in Japan, that means that the number one sound here in the U.S. has a platform to become the number one sound in Japan, and vice versa. If I decided I'm going to bring in another sound from Africa, I would want to now help that sound from Africa become the best that they could be in their region of the world, because then now I can now say, At.E.S.E., Mighty Crown, let's go visit Africa and now become popular on that side of the world. So it makes no sense for me to have 2 and 3 sounds in my camp from one region. It's just non-productive.
Well, I know you're not going to give me the name of the sound, and I don't want to take away from your big announcement, so we'll leave it there for the moment on that one. One last question, if we could just go back to a topic we touched on earlier. When I asked if any sounds had declined the invitation for resets, you said yes, Bass Odyssey and you said you thought the reason for that was because there was a rift between Irish and Chin and Bass Odyssey. What makes you think that there may be a rift?
There's been some talks from the Bass Odyssey camp, and in all respect to Pete Warford, of course, because him and I have shared a relationship for many, many years, and he has been one of my firm supporters over the years. He was one of the very few sound system owners who encouraged us to keep World Clash going, and when things got rough, he was the one that kind of always, touched me on my shoulder and said, yo, don't give up, keep the thing going. And he was extremely disappointed when we decided to do Game Over, because he said that he thought it was a very bad move, right? However, moving forward now, Chief is not as fully active in the sound system as he used to be, and there are other people calling the shots, and it seems, that those people and maybe my establishment need to sit down, and we probably need to speak about what issues they may have with whatever gripe they have with Irish and Chin, because it's not 100% clear to me, but what is clear is that they turned down World Clash based on the fact that they felt that I kind of insinuated on Sound Chat that they shouldn't have won Death Before Dishonor in Jamaica with Bass Odyssey and Jaro in the final stretch. So something that was said by me, according to what I'm gathering, that was clearly misinterpreted, kind of has them feeling like, Irish and Chin is not in their corner. And because Irish and Chin is not in their corner, they're not interested right at this apparent time in doing World Clash. So it's something that we may have to... I'm not saying that there's no relationship with Irish and Chin and Bass Odyssey. What I am saying is that, sometimes you have to take a step back to avoid an argument, and then, when the time is right, you sit down with that particular person or group of persons and kind of just clear the air. So there needs to be some ear clearing between myself and the establishment of Bass Odyssey, or myself and Irish and the establishment of Bass Odyssey. But there is some feelings being kept based on, the last clash in Jamaica. From what I understand, the last clash in Jamaica where Tony Mataran was hosting, and Bass Odyssey and Kilimanjaro went to the final finish, and Freddie was defeated. I think Freddie was defeated by one tune. I'm not sure how the ending went, but they kind of had a gripe of what my review was after them winning the cup.
Would you reach out to Bass Odyssey management and initiate a conversation with them, or are you waiting for them to get in touch with you?
Here's the thing. Just as Mighty Crown has taken a break from World Clash, I have to respect every other sound system that takes a break from World Clash as well. And with that being said, I don't think that we would be... I think that we would be being very biased to be pushy in this situation, because if Bass Odyssey wants to take some time off of World Clash, then they're entitled to, just as Mighty Crown is, just as Black Cat is, just as whoever has done it in the past. David Rodigan won World Clash last year. He turned to me this year and he says, Chin, I'm just not feeling that. That's not what I'm, where I am right now mentally. So, maybe in the future, but I'm not going to come back. So if I give everyone else this allowance, I need to also be able to extend that gratitude to Bass Odyssey as well. Saying that to say that it's not a conversation that we will rush. We're not enemies. And, when myself and Keith and Irish probably share the same atmosphere, we'll talk about it. And I'm sure that it's something that can be worked out. But for now, it was something that could not be worked out based on, I guess, the wounds or the situation was fresh. And we just decided to divert from that situation. They said no. We said okay. We asked more than once. We probably asked about 2 or 3 times. And they said no. And we decided that, that's what it is. We're just going to walk away from it.
World Clash Reset 2013. 7 sounds enter, 1 leaves with the trophy. It's going down this Saturday, October the 12th, inside Amazura in Queens. For more information, head to irishandchin.com. Chin, thanks a lot for your time.
All right, Gibbo, give thanks.
Gibbo.